Here is the other day, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, this video credit to Forbes, decided to make an announcement about Syngenta, which is a seed company. They've got agricultural land in northeast Arkansas, specifically Craighead County, 160 acres, and they have been ordered to get rid of it. They've been ordered to just basically, get out. You guys are a Chinese loyal. You're loyal to the Chinese communists, and we don't want you here, and we don't want you owning land here in Arkansas. Here's Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders from the other day.
It is great to be here this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. It's good to be here with our Attorney General, Secretary Ward, President Hester, and so many of our great legislators from around the state. I have to say this past week has been pretty eye-opening. I, along with every Arkansan, have watched as the events unfolding in Israel. We have watched that in horror and sadness. The details are almost too terrible to describe, especially for someone like me who has had the privilege of visiting the Holy Land and building lifelong friendships with a number of Israelis. But one thing is clear: America's enemies are on the march. They are cunning, they are brutal, and they will stop at nothing to harm America and our allies. We know who our enemies are: an authoritarian Russia and a Chinese Communist Party whose stated goal is to defeat the United States at every turn. Yet for too long, in the name of tolerance, we've let these dangerous governments infiltrate our country. Arkansas will tolerate them no longer.
Now that is huge. Arkansas will no longer tolerate the communist Chinese infiltrating our country. That's a big deal. And I know she mentioned Russia. Let me back this up a little bit, because I know she did.
But a regime in Iran that chants death to America, an authoritarian Russia, and a Chinese Communist Party.
So an authoritarian Russia. So here's the deal. And this is what I screamed for years and years and years, because this was back during the Russia collusion hoax. They framed Donald Trump for treason, and they tried to say he was a Russian agent, which is preposterous, right? My point was, because of the mainstream narrative, and look, the mainstream media certainly knows how to play up our Soviet Union fears from the 1980s, Red Dawn, Rocky IV, you know what I mean, right? And that's what was going on during the entire Trump administration, trying to say that Russia is the same Russia it was during the Soviet Union. But what I was saying was, at the time, during all that Russia hysteria, which is obviously continued in the Ukraine-Russia war, what would the press say if Asa Hutchinson was inking deals with the Russians and having the Russians come over here and give them taxpayer dollars, give them taxpayer incentives? And people would rightfully, understandably, correctly be like, that we shouldn't do that. That doesn't seem like a very good idea. It doesn't seem like that would be a good idea for the American people, right? I mean, because we're America and we need to help American. If we're it's a whole nother debate, the government picking winners and losers and giving away taxpayer dollars to private companies. I mean, that's a debate in and of itself. But if you're going to do it, which, from state to state, it seems to be the consensus that you're never going to stop it. Well, shouldn't it rather go to Americans? I mean, likewise, if you're never going to stop welfare, it needs to go to Americans. It doesn't need to go to all these people coming across the border. Oh, and by the way, I mean, this has been a slow infiltration. You've got the porous border. The border is more wide open than it's ever been. And you don't just have, Mexicans and people from South America. You also have Chinese nationals. You have people from the Middle East, people who are sympathetic to Hamas. I mean, Hamas, essentially, we have Hamas immigrants who are now, we have Middle East immigrants who are sympathetic to Hamas, and you're seeing that all over, these protests break out all over the country, here in our own country, and that's because of a porous border and a terrible immigration policy, by the way, and we're about to reap the fruits of that. We're about to reap the fruits of our leaders that actually don't care anything about us, not enough to secure the border. And now we have all of these people here that, at a moment's notice, regardless of what trying to decipher propaganda from the Middle East or whatever part of the world's going on, you have a whole group of people over here that are going to take the message, the narrative that best suits their worldview, which is anti-America, because we have people coming here that don't want to be Americans. They want America to fall. They want America to completely change. And so, this is unbelievable what's going on at the border in relation to all of this. And so, I mean, there's essentially a pack of policies that we need to have. And this anti-China or anti-Russia or any anti-owning land in Arkansas policy is one that needs to take fire all across the nation. It needs to happen everywhere. And I think this is a good first step for, the national security of the country, but specifically here in the state of Arkansas. Why would we want other countries to own large swaths of agricultural land when we need that agricultural land to feed ourselves, which is going to be a very, I hate to say it, I think it's going to be a very valuable resource very, very soon. Continue.
Whose stated goal is to defeat the United States at every turn. Yet for too long, in the name of tolerance, we've let these dangerous governments infiltrate our country. Arkansas will tolerate them no longer. Today, we are becoming the first state in the country to take an action like the one that we are announcing right now. At the beginning of my term, my administration worked with our partners in the legislature to get hostile foreign entities out of Arkansas. I was proud to sign Act 636, sponsored by Senator Johnson and Representative Vaught, banning foreign parties from 9 enemy countries from owning agricultural land in Arkansas. And today, we are acting on that law.
Now she just needs to do Bill Gates. If we can just get Bill Gates to be banned from owning land in Arkansas and across the country, then we would really be winning.
I'm announcing that Syngenta, a Chinese state-owned agrochemical company, must give up its land holdings in Arkansas. Syngenta owns 160 acres in northeast Arkansas, which it uses primarily for seed research. The company that owns Syngenta, Chem China, is also on the Department of Defense's list of Chinese military companies posing a clear threat to our state. Seeds are technology. Chinese state-owned corporations filter that technology back to their homeland, stealing American research and telling our enemies how to target American farms. That is a clear threat to our national security and to our great farmers.
Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders is exactly right here, and we have a flashback article for you from the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette back on August the 3rd of 2018. Look at this headline. Back then, 2 Chinese researchers indicted years after visit to Arkansas Center accused of trying to steal rice production technology. A federal grand jury has indicted 2 rice researchers from China accused of conspiring to steal rice technology from a research center in Arkansas. Now, back when this happened, I was like, well, surely Asa Hutchinson will, he'll wake up to the fact that we don't need to be doing business with communist Chinese. We look at what's happening here. We're vulnerable. No, he didn't care about that. He just kind of went on and did his normal thing. The deal had been made, I guess. The indictments announced Friday, again back in 2018, are linked to a Chinese delegation's trip in 2013 to the Dale Bumpers National Rice Research Center in Stuttgart. 2 others have been convicted or pleaded guilty previously in a related case. So that's what Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders here is talking about. Just so you know, this is not unprecedented.
Especially since the Chinese government enacted a law in 2017 requiring Chinese citizens abroad to collaborate with their country's security officials on intelligence work with no questions asked. This isn't about where you're from. We welcome Chinese Americans, Russian Americans, and anyone else who's given up foreign oppression for American freedom. This is about where your loyalties lie. We simply cannot trust those who pledge allegiance to a hostile foreign power. That's why I signed Act 525, sponsored by Representative McKenzie and Senator Boyd, to ban Chinese and Russian-made drones. And it's why I signed Act 758, sponsored by Representative McAlinden and Senator Stubblefield, banning public contracts with the CCP. We will make sure that every company operating in Arkansas is a friend to Arkansas and good to hardworking Arkansans. Secretary Ward has already notified Syngenta about this decision. If they refuse to sell, our Attorney General can move forward with legal proceedings and force them to get out of our state. Arkansas will always protect our farmers and our national security interest. I want to thank our legislature for passing this common sense measure, and I want to thank the Department of Agriculture for working so hard on this issue.
Common sense. Yeah, it is. It is common sense. If you care about America and the idea that, you know, countries are supposed to have borders, countries are supposed to have a people that share common values and be able to say we don't have the same values as a country like China. I mean, it's common sense. Now, it is not I will say this, I mean, in the 21st century, it's thought of to be a regressive idea. It's the whole concept of globalism versus nationalism. I mean, this is certainly an America first or Arkansas first policy that is now being enacted, and it is common sense and it is a no-brainer. It's incredible to me that it took this long, although, you know what? I'm so glad that it's happening. I'm so glad that finally the policy is reflecting the beliefs of the people of Arkansas. I mean, back when we were uncovering all of the Chinese infiltration here in the state of Arkansas, you wouldn't believe the amount of people that were outraged by this. Nothing happened, though, because the deals had been made. The deals had been made, and the law firm was collecting what the law firm was collecting. You know, I mean, it was visa immigrant stuff, but that's the same thing that Tony Bobulinski said, that Hunter Biden said when he was the chief legal counsel for the Chinese Communist country, CEFC, by the way. He told that to Tucker Carlson right before the election, but of course that was before Elon Musk owned Twitter, and so nobody cared because nobody knew to care.